Straw Hut Media.
So here we go, man. God damn it, you cardiac freak.
I'm a cardiac freak.
You're on the podcast. I thank you, Rico, by the way, for being on the show.
Sure. My pleasure.
I love you so much, man. You're not only my doctor, you're my good friend.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
It's true, Rico. Come on, it's true. Yeah, handsome devil. Let me start with one question. How old were you when you decided that you were going to be a cardiologist a doctor? When did you make that choice, and where did you have to go to college for that, or what do you do? How do you do that?
Well, I mean, I was a little kid. When I was like 5, 6 years old, I used to run away to the library to hide out because at my house it was like the Friday night fights. My mom and dad would be going at each other, and I'd escape to the public library, and I hang out in the encyclopedia section, and I kind of look at pictures of things that I thought I would never go to, like places around the world and things, because when you're growing up in Brooklyn, and we were like a pretty immigrant family, and then everything was like...
Oh, you're Italian, yeah?
I'm Italian, yeah, exactly.
Of course.
My family's from Naples. So everything you see is we only dreamed about going places and doing things because we don't have that much money. So in the library, I see these books on science, and there was this one book on the human body, and it had like those plastic plates where you pull it apart like the Invisible Man. You kind of go through the layers and you see all the stuff on the inside. And then there was this book. It was called Your Heart and How It Works. It was a cartoon book that DeBakey, the big heart surgeon, I guess, was a author of. And it showed this guy standing on the planet Earth and these arteries coming out of his chest and going out to the moon. And it says, if you took all the arteries in your body and lined them up end to end, they go to the moon and back 3 times. And I say, you know what? This is really cool. I want to learn about this stuff. I want to learn about science. I want to learn about the heart. I want to learn about the human body. So I was totally, a science nerd. I was sold in for that, learning about science. And
you were how old at that point?
I was like 6 years old.
Good Lord, Rico.
Yeah. This precocious kid. In fact, I used to, have a brother who's, younger than me. And I used to take out these heavy duty science books when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. And then Dr. Seuss books for my kid brother. And the librarian would say, excuse me, son, these books are way ahead of you. I go, no, they're not. I go, I understand.
Dr. Seuss is way ahead of you, buddy. Nice advice, yeah. I wonder what's happened to her. God knows if where is she now today? Wow. She knows you're the A-list cardiologist of the fucking Hollywood.
Exactly.
That's fascinating, man. That's really, really interesting. It's funny that you say that because I used to go to the library, for kind of the same reasons. My parents were, not happy. But what I did when I was there was I read a fucking biography that was written by James Cagney.
Oh, wow.
And I read a biography of Robert Mitchum. That's what I was doing, I don't know why I found those interesting, but yeah, it's weird that you would tell me that story because I was doing the same thing in a different way at the library. You remember those little drawers you can open with the little index cards? You can look up a book.
Yeah. The Dewey Decimal System, it's fun.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, in fact, it's no matter where you go, it's like, was it 500s like history and 400s philosophy or religion and it's always the same. Maybe 800s history, but I always just say in life, eventually when you start meeting people in your life, you kind of figure out where in the Dewey Decimal System they belong, which library shelf that they go to. And then eventually you start meeting enough people, you realize that, okay, a lot of them are in they basically belong to the same section, just slightly different books, but the same kind of story, right?
Yeah, I didn't go that far, but I was into, I remember I found one about Humphrey Bogart that I thought was really good. And unfortunately, at the end, it went into all of it, he passed away and things like that. But wow, it was in Evanston, Illinois, at the library at the
Evanston, Illinois. Wow. Okay.
Where was your library where you were doing that?
It was in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
Wow.
It was right next to a movie theater, and as I got older, one of my buddies was like one of the ushers. It was like his little school job, and he used to keep the back fire door open, so we'd sneak in and watch all the movies.
No, me and Mark used to climb up the fire escape in the back of the Beverly Theater in the city, and we would go in through the manager's office from the fire escape, and because he was never there, and we go through his office down into the balcony of the movie theater. And we'd watch movies, and, you know, we'd just sneak in there and sit up there. The first thing I ever remember seeing was Scalp Hunters with Burt Lancaster.
Oh, wow.
And, and then when the fucking thing was over, we'd have to go back through the office and back down the fire escape to get out. We didn't want anybody to find out we were in there for free. Oh, my goodness.
As a kid, so my dad was in the restaurant business, so they call him Mike the waiter, and he either owned restaurants or ran restaurants or worked in like really swank joints in Manhattan. And so my dad wouldn't really come home till like the next morning, because when he got out of work at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning in Manhattan, he wouldn't come home. He had a pocket full of Benjis, and he'd go out in the city and try to hang out. And so I would sit home with my mom waiting for my dad to come home, like on Fridays and Saturday nights, the non-school nights. And we'd watch all the old black and white movies waiting for my dad. And she'd sit next to me and tell me all the gossip. Like, okay, look, that's Lana Turner. She got married like 5 times. And then she went with this guy and that guy. And that's Clark Gable. I used to like be sucked into that whole world of those old movies. You know, and back then it was like the Late Show, the Late Late Show, the Late 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 Show, the $1 Million Movie. You know, and I couldn't get enough of it, because it was like, you know, it was escape. We lived in this little 5-room flat in Bay Ridge, and basically, we didn't have like summer vacations where our families took us to like, you know, Europe or anything. We summer vacation. Go play in the street and don't get hit by a car. That's summer vacation. You know?
No, I get it. No, they don't make pictures like that anymore, by the way. Wow, those are great titles. You know, that was nice of your mom to do that. I've been watching The Rifleman constantly because it's on MeTV now, and I for some reason started watching Gunsmoke. And you know what? That was a really good show. I mean, Gunsmoke was really good. I mean, that fucking guy that played Matt Dillon, James Arness, I think his name was. Wow. I mean, he was really good. He was so believable as Matt Dillon, as the sheriff of the town. And I was watching it the other day, and there's Barbara Eden.
Oh, wow.
And Robert Vaughn. Okay.
Wow.
They were this clandestine couple that were in love with each other. And Barbara Eden's father didn't want her to be with Robert Vaughn for some reason. He was some cattle baron guy. But to see the two of them together on a black and white screen, and that neither one of them could have been more than 30 years old at the most, maybe. I mean, wow. I never saw either one of them that young on a screen before.
Yeah. Or maybe younger for Barbara Eden, because she was Jeannie. That was in the 60s. Yeah.
At that point in time, she had no idea that, 20 fucking years later, she was going to be Jeannie. And I Dream of Jeannie. And Robert Vaughn would be the man from U.N.C.L.E.
That's right.
I mean, and then he was in Bullet, and he was in Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
I mean, and he had no idea at that point of his life that was going to happen. It's so bizarre to see them so young. This afternoon, I saw Jack Lord.
Oh, wow.
On an episode of Gunsmoke.
Book
yeah, and little did he know that, 15 years later, he was going to be Steve McGarrett on Hawaii Five-0, for 8 fucking years. I mean, it's just amazing to me. It's astounding to me. I mean, do you have that feeling as a doctor? Like, are there guys that you grew up with who had the same ambition that you did, that you see now?
I mean, guys who wanted to be doctors in my neighborhood. I mean, it was rough. I mean, like I said, my neighborhood was it was pretty street. I mean, sometimes I show people there's a scar on my left hand between my thumb and index finger, and I said this is my diploma from growing up in my neighborhood. When I was 11 years old, these kids like jumped me. Some guy pulled a knife. It was that kind of neighborhood.
You never showed that to me. I've never seen that.
Yeah,
I've known you for a long time, but you never.
Yeah, well, it wasn't exactly
it's not a show off thing.
Yeah, it's not a show off thing exactly, but it's like, for me, it was, I was gifted with I guess with intelligence. So I used school and the books to try to get me out of the neighborhood. And I liked and school was like a sanctuary for me, because in school you learned about science and geography and history and this whole world that wasn't like, sitting at the window staring out and seeing what's happening in the street in front of you.
Go back to the scar thing, though. So someone jumped on you and stuck you with a knife? Is that how that happened?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So my mom, the only way I'd ever leave the house, my mom sent me shopping. So she hey, go to the store and pick up. She gave me a whole list. And, and it was sometimes it was rough, because when my dad was like, when he wasn't flush, when he had lost money, because my dad gambled a lot. And so we were on food stamps here and there. So I remember like having to go to the grocery store with a handful of food stamps to buy groceries. And they'd be coming home with a box of groceries. And these kids, they see me, they start like, start teasing me and saying stuff, or try to like see what I had. What I got from my dad was his mouth. He knew how to like, so I wouldn't take crap from these kids. And these guys, one time, these guys came down, they knocked the groceries off my shoulder. And all the eggs broke, and I started screaming, "Look, you did!" Because I knew if I came home with a box of broken eggs, my mom would kick my butt, right? Because what you do with it?
Yeah.
And so, and they go, "Yeah, well, you think you're tough?" And the guy pulls a knife out, and he thought he would run. I didn't run, So then he jumped at me. He jumped at me with the thing, and he got me. I got like 30, 40 stitches in my left hand.
Yeah, but after he got you, what did you do? Did you hit him, knock him back, or
Well, that's what I did, right? So he got me, and then I hit him in the head with a garbage can lid, and that's why he got away.
You're like Sonny in The Godfather, man. Yeah, sure. That's a great weapon. Grab the garbage can lid, man. That's a good beat weapon, yeah.
But I remember running up to my mother's house, and I was trying to be tough. Hey, Ma, these guys jumped me. They stabbed me, but it's okay. I hit them, and she looked at my hand gushing blood, and she started like crying and screaming. And suddenly I became an 11-year-old kid again. I started like freaking out myself, and they took me down to the hospital, and they stitched me up. She goes, "Oh my God, you're gonna lose your hand." I go, "What?" So
you went to the extreme of it. You're gonna lose your hand in the name of God. You have that little cut, man. Your fucking hand's gonna be amputated. That's a mom thing, to say that. Wow, what a great story. Fuck, Rico. That's really cool, man. I set the back of the church on fire when I was that age, when I was your age, at that same time. Yeah, my mom was like, really alone, and she was really sad because, she was divorced from my dad, and so we went to church all the time. And then I found out that the church guy was hitting on my mom. He's trying to get in her pants. She told me, I don't know why she told me. I was 11 years old. I didn't need to hear that. But when I found that out, me and my buddy Mike, whose father was a Chicago cop, we went to the church, and we went to the back of the church, and we set it on fire.
Oh, boy.
We burned the fucking back of the church up. And I threw some spray paint cans in the fire.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wanted to like make an explosion.
Yeah.
They didn't automatically blow up, and we were waiting for it to happen. But it didn't happen. And so out of anxiety, I walked up to the fire, and I kicked one of the spray cans, and it exploded when I kicked
Jesus.
it. And it went right in my face, man.
No.
Cut my lip open. It was bleeding. And like you, I ran fucking home with this blood gushing out of me. And I remember I ran in the house, and my mom was there, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm bleeding." She goes, "Your face is bleeding. You're going to lose your face." And I go, "No, Mom." They said, "What happened?" I said, "Something exploded." And she thought my lips were going to be amputated from my face because it was bleeding so bad.
So my church, my neighbor was well, I don't know if I should say it. I was an altar boy, right? I was an altar boy for half a second, and me and this kid Tony, we had to do this mass, and we, you had to. So before you do the mass, you got to go into the sacristy and pull all the stuff. And there's this big flask, this crystal flask that has the sacred wine you're supposed to use during the mass. So Tony grabs it, and he takes the lid off it, and he goes, "Hey, this isn't wine. This is like scotch. It's like Johnny Walker Black." And so it turns out that the priest was, was drinking, belting scotch during the mass. So Tony's like, "I'm drinking it." I go, "You can't do that." I go, "Why not?" So he basically drinks all the scotch. We're like 12, 13 years old at the time. He's all loopy. And we replace it with iced tea, right?
How did you guys manage to do that without anybody noticing what the fuck you were doing?
No, we're in the back. We got to set up, and then it comes, come time for the mass. The priest comes out with the robes and the things, and everything's set up on the altar, and we're standing in the corner there with the chimes. You got to do the chimes after every certain prayers and all that,
bing.
right? Exactly, right. And so now we get to the part the consecration of the wine into blood, and he fills up the chalice, the gold chalice from this flask, and he puts it up, and he's doing, through him,
and you two fucking mix are standing there like, hey, we didn't do anything.
And then he takes the belt, he drinks it, and he looks at us, and his face goes beet red, and we smile and just chime. If eyes could kill, we'd have been melted right there. You just stay there. And after the mass, he's like, "Do you guys know what a sacrilege is?" And Tony's like, "Yeah, you know what Johnny Walker Black is." And so he kicked us out. Out of my house. And so we got kicked out of Altar Boys.
Well, I don't mind mentioning his name, but that motherfucker's name was Dal Kirkpatrick, who hit on my mom.
Wow.
He tried to get in my mom's pants. She looked up to him. He was her hero. He was a priest or a reverend or whatever the fuck they call themselves. And he hit on my mom. He wanted to get in her drawers. My mom was pretty, but good Lord, he's a church guy. You don't do that, man. You don't cross that fucking line.
No.
So not only did we set the fucking church on fire, but that wasn't successful. So about 2 days later, we went back over there and we climbed up the fire escape in the back and went through the roof, and we went in the youth lounge and we stole all the stereo equipment.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man. It was nice stuff too, man. And I was 12 years old at that point. And my mom was like, I remember when I came in the house, I had a speaker and I had the receiver thing. It was gold, I remember. It was like a Zenith or something. And my mom was like, Michael, where did you get these things? And I go, we found them.
We found them.
we found them. They were, behind the house over there next door. I think somebody threw them away. And she was like, are you sure? They look really nice. And why would anyone throw those away? I go, I don't know, Mom. It's a mystery. But it's just super cool that I have them now. And I put them in my room. And I was so happy that I ripped off that fucking guy that was trying to get in my mom's drawers. I was so happy. I felt like I had done something good. And I never been to church. I stopped going to church at that point. And even now today, I have a big problem with the whole church thing. It's weird.
Wow. I tell you, so my grandmother used to bring me to church and I was a kid. So my grandma had 9 kids, 8 daughters and a son. And all of us lived within 5-6 blocks of each other, except 2 of my aunts. They moved back to Italy. So whenever my mom got fed up with me, she said, go stay with your grandmother, because she gave me this little tiny suitcase and I pack it and I go to my grandmother's house. I was 7, 8, 9 years old, different times. I knock on my grandmother's door. She goes, yeah, come in. She looked at me and she only spoke Italian, my grandmother. She goes, I raised 9 kids during the war. No problem. Your mother's got 3. She can't handle you. I don't know what's wrong with your mother. So she take me in the house. And my grandma used to take me to church every morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. And somehow it was she thought by doing that, it would bless me for the future and pray over me. But then if you listen to
good luck.
Exactly. If you listen to my grandmother pray, she'd say stuff like, St. Teresa, remember how the butcher tried to rip me off on those steaks? Make his hand go crippled. I said, wait a second, you're praying for the butcher's hand to go crippled? She goes, oh yeah, St. Teresa loves your grandmother. She knows if someone tries to screw with her, she's going to get him back. So my grandmother used saints as her ways of retaliating at people. She prayed for people's destruction.
Good for her, man. Good for her.
It was crazy stuff. So
that's your bloodline, man. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So one time, this is a crazy story. So kids used to pick on me because I was a fat kid with glasses, and
I can't imagine that, Rico. You're a very handsome guy. Rico, you're a fucking handsome guy, man. I could never imagine you overweight or wearing glasses. But I get it. Sure, man. If I remember I used to take a razor and cut the side of my face because I thought I thought I was too good looking, and I would cut my face open with a fucking razor because I thought it made me look tough. And so
wow.
I get it. I understand the affliction. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
And when kids picked on me, my grandmother say, always run because our Lord turned the other cheek. So don't try to fight. But my uncle, he was number 8 in the line of 9 kids. He was only like 18, 19 at the time. He goes, well, you kidding me? If kids tease you, you crack them more, you hit them more. So one time, these kids, they ganged up on me, and they had this thing. They go, hey, Simonini, we're going to go play at the construction site around the corner. We're going to sneak in through the a hole in the fence. It's a lot of fun. You want to come hang out with us? And I was like, really? They want me to hang out with them? These guys always tease me. So I went. I was dumb. I get there, and their plan was they had just poured the cement foundation. Their gag was to try to throw me into the cement foundations. They just poured like 6 feet of cement.
That's what happened to Jimmy Hoffa, man.
There you go. I would have been like Jimmy Hoffa. They still wouldn't have found me.
They never would have known where the fuck you were.
So now I realized what was going on. So I dropped down because, hey, I'm fat. They got to drag me if they want to throw me down there. I grab a 2x4. I start swinging. I catch one kid in the head. I see blood. And then they let me go. And I get up and I run to my grandmother's house. I run to her house, not my mom's house, because my grandmother had like this shrine of saints and icons in a bedroom on a dresser.
And hopefully a machete or a pistol.
Right. So I think I'll go there and tell my grandmother. So I run to the house. I'm crying in the town. I said, Grandma, pray for my eternal soul. I think I just killed somebody. I saw blood. He said, and there's my Uncle Chris wearing a leather jacket, smoking a cigarette. And he looks at me. He goes, what are you doing? I start crying. And he goes, hey, you're a man. Don't you dare cry in front of me. You go in the bathroom, you wash your face, come out, and we talk about it like men. And I go, what'd I tell you? So I go in the bathroom, I wash my face or something. I come out, and there's my Uncle Chris sitting there quietly reading like a comic book, smoking a cigarette. And I'm standing there like, and he goes, yes, nephew, what is it? I'm like, don't you? Okay, I think I killed someone. Okay, good. How do you know that? Well, I hit him in the head with this 2x4, and I saw blood.
What an admission.
He goes, we saw blood. I go, did you see brains? No. What brains? Yeah, does it look like cauliflower, red cauliflower coming out of his head? I go, no. See, so how do you know he's dead? Well, where'd this happen? The construction site. Okay, good, let's go. So he walks me down. He had this badass sports car. When we revved it up, the whole neighborhood woke up. We get in there, we drive over there, and there's nothing. It's just a construction site. He goes, see, look, if you kill a guy, police are here. They put that yellow tape up. This stuff. See, there's nothing. Well, tell me what happened. Well, they were teasing me. They wanted to throw me in the cement. So I grabbed the thing and I hit him. Yeah, you did good. See, that's all you got to know. If they tease you, you show them they can't do that to you anymore, and then you're going to be all right. So that was his lesson.
My father was the same way. He would say, listen, Michael, don't you ever start a fight. Don't ever start anything with anybody. But if someone else starts it and they don't stop, then you got to end it. Okay, you don't throw the first punch, but throw the last one. And that was my dad's philosophy. And, it was pretty smart. He was always had advice like that. He would tell me at the strangest times, and I shot this girl with a slingshot one time. I had a wrist rocket slingshot, and this girl, and I was in like 4th grade or 3rd or 4th grade, and I loved this girl, Donna. And Donna, if you're out there somewhere, it's Michael, and I was in love with you, honey, in 4th grade, and you wouldn't talk to me. But I had a wrist rocket slingshot in the bushes by our house, and I had to take it out, and I knew the way she walked home, and it was in the wintertime. So she had a big coat on, so, I put a rock in the damn thing, and I shot, I let it go, and it got her in the back, but she had a big coat on, so, she barely felt it. But she just kept on walking, and I said, damn it, I said, Donna, and she wouldn't turn around, and she wouldn't look back at me, so I put another rock in the damn thing, and I let it go, and right when I let it go, she turned around, and the damn thing got her right in the face, like at that moment. At that moment, I really, it seemed like, it hit her. She definitely reacted as a face shot. But then I said, oh, my God, oh, fuck, And so I ran home. And so I ran all the way back to the house. Just like you running to Grandma's, I ran back to my house. And I was so scared. I thought, what the fuck is going to happen? And then about maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour later, there's a knock on the door. And here comes my dad. And I come out my bedroom. I was at the top of the stairs, and I could see the front door from the top of the stairs. My dad, he had a white T-shirt on, and he had his blue firehouse pants on. And he walked over and he opened the door, and there was this guy standing there, and behind him was Donna. And so I realized, oh shit, it's Donna's father, right? She had her hand on the side of her face, and her face was kind of purple. And so I realized that I hadn't got her in the eye, which I was really happy about. And I thought, oh, well, fuck, man. Okay, well, it's not as bad as I thought, you know. I got her in the cheek. She's going to be fine. And this guy starts shouting at my father. And my dad was just standing there very casually, calmly listening to this guy go on and on. And then he looked over at him and he goes, are you done? Are you through? Is that it? And the guy was like, he was so shocked at my dad's casualty, he didn't know what to say. And, you know, in Chicago, as I'm sure as in Brooklyn, you know, they had those metal doors, those front doors with the screen on the top.
Yeah, the screen door, exactly. Yeah.
The bottom part is metal, and then the top is a screen.
Right.
And so my dad, he took two hands and went right through the screen, right into the guy's chest, and sent him fucking backwards into a somersault down the front steps, man. He just put him out, man. Donna, she was like, she disappeared. I don't know where she went, but she ran. But this guy went ass over backwards down the stairs. And my dad, at that point in time, he looked up at the screen. He realized he had broke the screen, and he thought about it for a second. And then he casually just stepped back and closed the front door. He just, boom, just shut it. And he turned around and he really slowly, casually walked out, you know, back into the kitchen. And I was like, oh my God, my father is the major hero of my life. And which actually, you know, it was stupid for me to think that, because about 20 minutes later, he came up into my bedroom and knocked me out. But
there you go.
But, you know, it was one of those parental moments. But the good part about it was after he, you know, did that, I remember waking up and I was a little bit delirious, and I went to my window, my bedroom window, and I looked out, and because I was on the second floor of the house, and there was my dad, and he was in the backyard, and he had this chicken wire in the backyard where he fenced off a part of the grass that wasn't getting green, and he had a bag of grass seed, and he was taking handfuls of it and tossing it out. Very casual, you know. And I see my mom come out. My mom come out the door, and she walked up behind him, and she put her arms around him, and she put her head on the back of his shoulder. It was a very touching moment. It was very wonderful. It was bizarrely, it was the only time that I ever remember any childhood memory of them ever having any physical contact with each other.
Oh wow!
And so it was strange that it happened at that day, at that time, but. You know, your stories about your grandma and stuff, Rico, God almighty, how many years have I known you?
Oh, God, like at least 10 or 15, a while.
I knew that you were loaded with these kind of stories, and I knew that you would have interesting things to talk about. You remember when I was in Cedars and you kept me in there because I had no place to live?
Yeah.
Yes, well, I remember too. I don't want to get you in trouble, but, you know, I was legitimately there, but I had no place to go, and you knew it, and you were my doctor, and you kept me in there, and for legitimate reasons, and that you came up with, and you're very well respected in your community for what you do, and I respect you because you're respected. And of course you are. And I just remember that. And I don't know if I ever properly thanked you for that, but you certainly served, you helped my family, and you helped me, my wife, my kids very much at that time, Rico, for doing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome, buddy.
You know, I wanted to ask you about the Sinatra thing. When, in the name of God, did you suddenly decide that you could play Frank Sinatra?
Well, that's a good story. Well, okay. So I came out to L.A. to work at Cedars. That was the reason why I came to L.A. And I'm here maybe, I don't know, a month. And some guy asked me to do a table read for some comedy He was a guy that came for a checkup. I was examining the guy, and he says to me, "Hey, you're from Brooklyn, aren't you?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You doing the acting?" And I said, "Well, I mean, does high school plays count? Does improv classes and count?" He goes, "Well, yeah, read this." He takes something out of his briefcase, and he goes, "Perfect." He goes, "So here's the deal. I got this. It's a table reading. You know what that is?" He's asking me. I go, yeah. Yeah. Let's say everyone sits around the table and reads, and we're trying to see what we can do with it and get invested. Blah, blah. So Tony Danza was supposed to do this, but he can't do it.
No, I worked with Tony Danza, man. I did a movie with Tony Danza.
There you go.
Yeah, no, he's a cool cat, man. Tony was great, man.
And I've met Tony many times years later. They go, but Tony Danza can't make it. And you're from Brooklyn. You'd be perfect. Just come over and read this thing. So
I think you might have made a better Sinatra than Tony Danza. So, sorry, Tony, but, I think Rico did a better job.
So I read the thing, and that started my acting career in L.A. because at that table read, I met all these writers and producers and directors, and suddenly everybody starts asking me to this and read this, read that. I started doing theater, started doing plays. Eventually, I met a guy named Tommy Castronovo. The way I met him is I did
another WAP.
There you go. There's a lot of us around here, Bob.
I mean that with love,
Yeah. Well, they say FBI means forever bothering Italians. That's why we all have
to. I never heard that one before. I'll remember it. I'm going to tell it to my manager. He's Italian. He'll love that. I'll ask him if he's ever heard that before. He has a twin brother that runs Ferrari, for Christ's sake.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, God made two of them. Yeah, seeing them standing together is really strange.
So I met so Tommy, or TJ as we called him, I met him in the theater where I was doing a play, and he walks up to me. He goes, "Hey, I got this play. I think you'd be right for." And as I'm talking to him, we're walking, along the incline, and I see him huffing and puffing. I said, "You got any heart problems?" He goes, "I smoked for 40 years. What I tell you?" I go, "You should come to my office." So I go into your office.
Oh, you got a new victim.
He goes, "I'm a cardiologist."
Dr. Rico.
There you go. He goes, I'm a cardiologist. He goes, "Get out of here. You're not a cardiologist. No fucking way you're a cardiologist." I go, "Yeah, I'm a cardiologist." So he comes to my office and we check him out. He winds up getting 2 stents. And next thing you know, he goes, "This is amazing. I could breathe. I feel great. What the fuck you do to me?" I go, "Well, we gave blood back to your heart. See, it's a good thing when you do that." So next thing you know, he goes, "We're going to do a bunch of plays together. You're going to be in all my plays." And so I started doing theater with him. We put on all these plays around Hollywood.
Oh my God.
And there was this one play. There's a writer named Willard Manis. And he had done he was doing a play called Berlin Cowboys. It was a play about how the Berlin Wall went up overnight, how the KGB fooled the CIA in stationed in Germany.
That's true.
Where the Americans had no idea that they were.
I just saw a documentary about that 3 days ago, man. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's true.
And so in this play, there's a Greek spy who's from the Pontic part of Greece, so he speaks Greek, Russian, and English. So during rehearsals for this play, I guess there was trouble with the lead actor who's Greek, and Will, the playwright, is talking with TJ. They're at the actor studio, and he says, "I got to get rid of the lead of this play. He's driving me nuts. I got to do something about him. But we open in 3 weeks. Who am I going to get that's going to learn this part and speak, lines in Russian and Greek and all this in 3 weeks?" He goes, "Use my doctor." He goes, "Your doctor?" "Yeah, he's an actor. The guy's great."
Get Dr. Rico. Yeah, of course.
Right. So I walk in, and there's this dialogue-heavy play, and I play this guy named Kostas, and I'm a Greek spy, and I worked for the Greek government, and I learned many languages. And the play was a hit. And then Will says, Will after the play, Will says, "Listen, we're going to have a reading of a 1-act play I wrote, and it's going to be."
I wonder if you might be interested in playing Frank Sinatra.
Exactly. And so at the actor studio playwright group, on Monday nights, he had this 1-act play called Frank and Ava. And so I read it with this other actress, and her name was Stephanie Northcutt.
Is she the one that played Ava in the movie with you?
No, she didn't. She did.
Who was Ava in the movie with you?
Oh, her name was Emily Alicia Lowe. Yeah, she was in the movie. But so we did the reading for the actor studio. I remember it was like, Marty Landau was in the audience,
Wow.
Barbara Bing was in the audience. And I remember
wow, no, they were married at the time, and my mom was at the actor studio at that time. And she was very close friends with Marty, and Marty was my friend at that time. He was, I knew him too. He was a wonderful guy, the poor guy, man. What a great actor.
Marty was the one that made me a member of the studio. But after the reading, somebody raised their hand and like, what kind of play is this? It's about two people that fight and fuck all the time. Who wants to watch that? And then Marty says, "What's obviously you don't like the same things we like. Of course they want to watch that." And so that became a play.
That sounds like him, yeah.
So we did a play. The Frank and Ava was a play in Hollywood for 6 months. It was a big hit. You know, people kept them getting great reviews. We won a bunch of awards. And I thought to myself, this would make a great movie because you have a guy like Frank Sinatra, who's an iconic character, but the play actually dealt with a 3-year part of his life where he was basically at a crossroads.
Sure. With Ava, yeah. There's a famous picture of them walking on the beach together. It's really sad.
But that's actually from their honeymoon. When they got married, they went down to Cuba. And that's somebody snuck a shot of them walking on the beach in Havana.
She was taller than him, which was weird looking. It was
well, most people were taller than him. You know, he was a short.
I know, but you're not going to be with a woman that's like taller than you. I mean, it's a bit awkward. I mean, wow, you know, I wouldn't try to date a woman who was taller than me. I mean, that'd be weird.
But the great thing about it was basically 1949. Frank Sinatra was getting run out of Hollywood because they had enough of his bad boy, you know, antics.
Yeah, it was before From Here to Eternity.
Exactly. And they had enough of his bad boy antics. They had enough of his politics.
Yeah, fuck him. Yeah,
he was kind of left, and it had enough of his mob ties. Wow. And also back then, the morality police, you know, he was being literally like Me Too'd for like cheating on his wife, for all these affairs he had, all these, you know, the dalliances he had, and they were running out of business. And he meets Ava Gardner, who at the time, you know, was dating Howard Hughes, the richest, most powerful guy in the world.
Right, and he was trying to get up Robert Mitchum's ass, and you know, meanwhile, did you ever see what is the name of that damn thing that Hughes made with Mitchum? His Kind of Woman, I think it's called, with who's that black-haired actress gal that was with?
Jane Russell.
Yeah. He made this picture. Did you see that picture he did with Jane Russell?
Yes.
And you know who's the bad guy in that thing is Raymond Burr.
Yes, Raymond Burr. That's right.
Who ended up being Perry Mason.
Correct.
But he's the bad guy in that Mitchum picture, and he's really, really good. He's really scary and really dark and evil. Like, wow.
That's the picture that the Hughes had to go in front of the motion picture rating and talk about and defended showing Jane Russell's cleavage.
He probably had to go in front of them for more than that because that movie was pretty dark, man. Yeah. It was pretty heavy.
So they were trying to keep that film out of the theaters. They were saying that it was too racy at the time, which is kind of funny.
Wow.
You look at racy then and racy, you know, what they show now. But Jane Russell's cleavage was like a major issue, and there was too much of it in the movie.
Well, how could there not be? I mean, you know, she was loaded. You know, she had it going on there. It wasn't. They weren't silicone. Let's face it. So. I was just surprised at how believable Raymond Burr was as a bad guy, because you always think of him as Perry Mason, you know, this stalwart court guy, this lawyer guy, and he's always on the right side of things. And he was an evil, dark son of a bitch in that thing. He's beating up Robert Mitchum, man. And, you know, apparently Mitchum got so fed up with the whole thing that at the end he tore up the whole set and broke a bunch of lights and wrecked a whole bunch of shit because he was so mad at Howard Hughes, who used to come on the set with tuna sandwiches for everybody when he was living at the Beverly Hills Hotel in the bungalow. I mean, it's got to be true, right? I mean, it must be true. It's got to be a true story.
It's crazy. I mean, actually, Burr did played bad guys in some of those film noirs. There's a whole bunch of, like, I do the TCM Sunday morning film noir, where they show these old movies from the 40s and 50s. And Raymond Burr played bad guys in a lot of those films. You know, he was that guy. He was like. Oh,
he started off in Godzilla. He was the reporter in Godzilla. Remember that?
Oh my God, Godzilla.
Yeah, it was Raymond Burr, man. He was like the reporter, you know, talking about Godzilla and in the first Godzilla picture. And it's Wow. You look at some of these folks and early on, and you wonder, did they have any idea where they were headed, what they were going to do in the future? It's incredible. You being a cardiologist, being a doctor, and being as respected as you are, the clientele that you have, including me, and at the same time, trying to be a picture actor. I mean, that's a pretty fucking juggle act, man. I mean, wow. Which one would you rather be, or do you just want to do them both?
I love doing them both. I mean, I love being a doctor. I love solving problems for people. I also love being an advocate for patients. I think every time I look at the newspaper and I hear about some guy, dying a sudden death in a hotel room somewhere, you always think about the heart, because heart disease is number one killer in America. And a true fact, a real fact, is that about 400,000 people every year die of sudden death. It means within 1 hour of their symptoms are gone. And the sad thing about that is that if you measured all those people's cholesterol, half the people would have normal cholesterol. And if you did a stress test on those people, about 2 out of 3 of them would pass the stress test a week before they died, which means it's the things that a lot of people take as reassurances that they're going to be okay, they're not going to die of a heart attack. Hey, I could exercise, or hey, my cholesterol is okay. Those aren't really enough information. So when I see somebody, at those age groups die suddenly, I say that, it's a shame, because there's other things we can do, other things we could measure to really get a sense of what your true risk of having a heart attack is. And one of the things we measure is something called a coronary calcium test. You do a CAT scan for like 30 seconds, and you can see how much plaque you have in your heart. Many guys that I send for that test, they have normal cholesterol and they exercise, and it comes back, they have lots and lots of calcium in their arteries, and they have a very high calcium score they had no idea of. Why? Because there's something genetic about them that makes them prone to having heart disease. And another thing we could do is we can measure inflammatory proteins in your blood. There's a blood test that they draw. It's called a pulse test, and it measures PULS, and it basically measures all these proteins in your blood, which are activated when you have heart disease and blocked arteries and plaque forming in your arteries. So a couple of simple tests could make you understand, hey, you know what? You may exercise and feel good. You may have normal cholesterol, but your body is a time bomb ticking that you don't know about. And that's the kind of thing when I read in the paper that makes me sad. I mean, the reason why I became a cardiologist is because I was in med school and I wound up saving my dad's life while he was having a heart attack. I was in med school. My father was...
So you had to go to med school. That was my next question. I was going to ask you, what did you have to go through to actually become, to call yourself, I am a doctor? I mean, how long did that take?
Well, you graduate from college, and then after that, you go to medical school. And medical school is 4 years. And then you have to do a specialty training.
How did you survive in 4 years of med school? What did you do to survive? You live with your grandma?
No. I couldn't use grandma anymore. Med school was basically you were studying day and night. You go into anatomy class, physiology class, histology class, all the ologies. And actually, med school was actually really challenging for me because I graduated college in 3 years. I was on a scholarship. I majored, and I went to NYU undergrad. I majored in history and minored in chemistry, and I got the highest award for graduating history students. I wrote this thesis on the Red Scare in the 1920s in America, and I won this big history award. And they had no idea I was planning to go to medical school. They said, this award allows you to get a scholarship to grad school. You want to study graduate history? And I said, well, I'm actually going to med school. And they're like, really? What? And the guy who was runner-up was like crying. He goes, what do you mean? I could have used that money. Then, but med school was tricky. See, college was pretty easy for me. I was that guy that would understand things pretty quickly, like organic chemistry, physics, chemistry, quantum energy. I sat there and I could visualize things. And in fact, I used to have tutorial sessions for my classmates because they would say, Rico, you seem to understand this crap. And I said, well, come on, we'll meet one night in the library. I get a piece of chalk. I started drawing on a chalkboard and drawing out these reactions in chemistry and show them where the electrons go and the protons go and all that. And I would try to help them out. And it's pretty cutthroat, because think about it. At NYU, first day, freshman year, there's like 4,000 people to say they're pre-med. And by the time it's time to take the MCAT exam, the medical college admission test, only about 150 get to take that test, and only 100 get in.
No, it's really that percentage. No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I've always been fascinated by that sort of thing, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and they're all cutthroat. The students are mostly cutthroat. They don't want to share notes. They don't want to share information because they figure, hey, you know what? We need people to fail. We need people to drop out. And I was like, screw this noise. Why should people have to suffer? Because someone's going to withhold notes. So I would share as much as I could with as many people as I could. I was, in fact, I remember there was this in an organic chemistry lab. Yeah, there was a thing called qualitative and quantitative, but they give you this unknown. They give you like a powder or a liquid. You had to do all these experiments to figure out what it was. And me, I was great at that. They gave you like 10 compounds the entire semester. I finished them in like 2 weeks. I was done. So I basically hang around the lab and help people out. I go, what do you got? Let me see. Let me guess. It was like, for me, it was fun. Let me go guess people's stuff. And these guys say, what are you doing? Do you realize by helping these people, you're going to throw off the curve? These people were destined to fail and drop out. Now you're going to keep them in the game. I'm like, you know what? This ain't this shouldn't be the rate limiting reaction in their life. I mean, there's plenty of things in life to trip us up. It shouldn't be because some guy can't figure out that the white powder he has is citric acid as opposed to something else. So that's kind of what I did. But then when I got to medical school, it was strange. It was like all the guys I avoided in college who were like these competitive people were my classmates because the survivors are the ones that get on to medical school, So suddenly you're sitting around all these guys that now they're told, oh, turn off that part of you that's competitive and cutthroat because now you're in school and now you're okay because the graduation rate of med school is 99%. Everybody graduates basically. But it was funny, like it was challenging for me because I was younger. I was like 20 when I was in med school, and a lot of the guys a little bit older, and it was rough just trying to figure it out because trying to find out who my peers were because a lot of these kids in med school, their father was a doctor or they came from some kind of a bloodline,
a blood blue color.
Exactly. And me, I had nothing. It's like, the matter of fact, they'd make fun of my accent. They say, what are you, the affirmative action Italian kid? I go, yeah, really?
Who is this WAP? Yeah. No, I get it. You know what? I must say, and I must be honest, I know a lot of people, and I've met everybody that you can think of. And you, Rico, not only are you a gentleman and my physician, but you're a fascinating guy. And you're so interesting. And you're a handsome son of a gun. And the fact that you do what I do as a living at the same time as being a doctor is incredible to me. I've never met anyone that I could compare to you, buddy. You're just a phenomenon, Rico. I just, you really are. As a matter of fact, now that I got you on the freaking phone, I have a busted rotator cuff, and, these other doctors tell me I have to have surgery to fix my rotator cuff. I don't want to have surgery, Rico, because I don't want the recovery time. But what is my alternative?
I mean, it's a tough one because it depends on what you really want to be doing.
I want to live. I mean, I want to do what I do. I mean, I do a lot of stuff, man. I ride motorcycles and I ride horses. I make fucking pictures. And
so here's the thing: if you're having, I mean, this is orthopedics, obviously, but if you're having a lot of pain or if your range of motion is in such a way where you can't do things you want to do,
well, I've worked my way through it and I've worked around and I figured it out. But I do have pain. I do have a loss of range of motion. But I don't mind having the surgery. It's not that. It's the recovery time. I don't have 2 weeks to lay around in a sling in bed, What else am I supposed to do?
Well, there's the sling and there's the rehab, and and like I said, when you're doing rotator cuff surgeries on people over 45 or over 50,
that would be me,
right? The recovery time's longer. The expected result is not going to be the same, and you really got to pick really talented surgeon that has some ideas on how that.
Well, I supposedly, do you know Neil, the guy that takes care of the Lakers?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, he supposedly is the number one.
Oh, he's great. He's great
guy that's going to do my shoulder.
Yeah.
But the thing is that honestly really? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but is that honestly either I decide, okay, cut me open, fix it, or I'm just going to live this way forever. I mean, I if I can't be given a 100% guarantee that a surgery from someone like that guy or someone that you might know, they say, look, at the other end of this, you're going to be fine and you'll be back to normal. If they're not going to give me that guarantee, then I'm not going to do it. I'd rather live with it like it is. Is that intelligent?
Well, that's smart. I mean, like I said, it depends on what you need to do. If you want to do a lot of activities where you have to move your shoulder above the level.
I ride motorcycles and I ride horses. And,
well, there you go. So if having your shoulder injured prevents you from doing that.
That's prevent me, but it's a problem. It gets in the way.
Yeah, I mean, then that's a decision you have to make about what you really need to be doing. I mean, some people are satisfied with not having to move their arm around, or limited range of motion.
I can move it around. It's just painful, man. It's just sometimes in the morning and late in the day, it's just like crazy painful.
Well, that's something to talk about with him, because he'll lay out for you what the realistic expectations are.
Yeah, I don't want to start taking a bunch of pain pills and shit like that, man. We both already know that's a dead end.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, whatever, man. No, that's good advice. I'll ask him what you said, and I'll go from there.
Yeah.
Rico, you've had such an interesting life. My gosh, and one thing, I don't know if I ever brought this up to you, but the times you went to Argo when my son Christian was waiting tables over there.
Yeah.
He used to tell me, he said, Dad, that doctor guy, the doctor guy. And I was like, Rico. And he goes, yeah. Is he your doctor? And I go, yes, son, he is. And he goes, he's such a gentleman, Dad. He's always really nice to me, Dad. He's always really great to me, Dad. And he always leaves me a great tip.
Wow.
Thanks for looking after my son, man.
You got it. Hey, I used to wait tables. I put myself through school waiting tables through high school and colleges. I used to work after school in restaurants in Brooklyn and Manhattan. So I know the value of how you're living on tips and how to take care of people that wait on tables. Although now they call food servers, not waiters anymore, but the same thing. But I grew up in the restaurant business, and I think it's very important to take care of people that work.
You looked after my boy, and I have to love you for that, Rico. It's wonderful. It's great also to have you on the show, and your stories are amazing and wonderful. I could just talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but I have to say, I've only done a few people so far on this podcast, and you, my friend, have been the most interesting of anybody we ever had.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.
It's a fucking God's truth, Rico. My goodness. A cardiologist, actor, played Frank Sinatra, who is my friend, gives me medical advice, who looks after me at Cedars Hospital. My goodness, Rico, I'm lucky to know you, and I'm blessed to know you, and I thank you so much for being on this damn thing with me.
Thanks for saying that, Michael. Thank you. And if anybody wants to see me as a doctor, they could just go to SimoniniCardiology.com. And I'll be happy to take care of them and give them the same care I give you and all the guys.
Well, that's a big statement considering your alphabet. So
that's right, Michael.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good for you, man. Listen, if I can bring you some business, I'll be happy to have done so. So
if they want to watch the movie, they can watch the movie on Amazon Prime, Frank and Ava.
I love you, Rico.
I love you too, Mike.
I love you to death, my friend. God bless you, man. Thank you for being on the show, Rico.
You got it. All right. Take care, guys.